And we're here once again in the friendly confines of You Don't Need to Know Where We Are for another edition of the KG and Fifth Ward Wildcat podcast.
And here I am, the Fifth Ward Wildcat scores for the past weekend up till Tuesday of this week. Starting with HBU, the women went split for the weekend. They they beat Lockout 3-2, women's volleyball. Then they lost to A&M on the road 3-0. Men's soccer lost to San Diego State 1-4, and women's soccer beat Southern 6-0. Once again, the swag. Oh my goodness. Rice volleyball. The Conference USA started conference play this week, and women's volleyball went 1-1 at the Chile Fillmore SFA Invitational. Then they opened up the week on Tuesday, I think that was Mr.
U of H Cougar, yes sir, against my alma mater, and they got swept in the Tudor 3-0.
That's what I wanted to hear. I want to hear it out of you. And folks, when basketball season starts, you're going to hear a lot of things. And let me finish this out. U of H football came back from
a miracle. Came back from playing like crap for half.
Whatever. You got it done. You got it done. You Cougars got it done on the road at the Joke.
In Ruston.
35-34 win over La Tech. Folks, and they're trying to move up the ladder. Women's soccer beat Ooh-La-La, Louisiana Lafayette 2-0. Women's volleyball opened once again, just mentioned, but it stands to be reading you whenever U of H beats Rice, you got to let folks know who's in charge. Am I wrong, sir?
Well, I won't go that far. It's good to be Rice. It was a good crowd. We'll talk more about it in a few minutes, but it was an exciting match, I must say.
And the last goal for the weekend was Texas Southern football. Won that first game. They beat Texas College at Butler Stadium. No score. I wasn't there. And folks, I'm just going to say it just like this. The information was not available on the website.
You gonna throw certain people under the bus who you won't name?
You should update your website.
All right.
That's the reason. And
no,
I did that for a reason.
Yeah, I got you.
For a reason. Okay, now let's get into the comments and opinions for the day and for the week. Timing is everything. It's almost like it was destined for us to be late this week putting this together.
Well, let's see. I mean, and touch on two things. I mean, because it was Texas College. It was 49-6, thanks to the SWAC website, as opposed to the TSU Ball website. That's what it is, right? TSU Ball.
That's what it is.
And I know Prairie View came from ahead and lost to Arkansas Pine Bluff 36-29. TSU plays tomorrow. On Saturday, 1 o'clock, I think, at Delmar versus Alcorn. Yeah. I don't expect it, but I hope a crowd is as good a crowd as it was for the Texas Southern game against Prairie View. 1 o'clock tip off, kick off some already in basketball mode already. But hopefully, come out and support the Tigers in Alcorn. But let's talk about it. Today is Friday.
Before you get to that, folks, today is 22 days and counting before basketball gets going in the area, and the Cougar sitting across from me is excited. He's tapping his feet.
Oh yeah,
he's around, screaming and hollering, letting folks know his roar and all is getting bigger now.
Well, that's true because that's the what is it?
October 15th.
The official start, Midnight Madness start, whatever. But last year or so, especially on the women's side, teams can begin practice 40 days before the first game of the season. So I think the U of H women start practice October 4th. So, and of course, you and I both know that teams have already done their, if you want to call them individuals or workouts. So, I mean, it's not like the players and coaches haven't done anything all summer. So everybody should be in condition. It should be an interesting year for Coach Todd Buchanan and his very young women's team, as well as Coach Dane Dickey and the men's team. I think Coach Dickey has 8 new guys on his team as well. I think Todd's got maybe even 10 new guys on women on his team. So that's going to be interesting to see.
And they got staff in transition.
That too. So let's touch on that real quick. Chandy Jones, former player Chandy Jones, legend, U of A's legend in basketball. All-American, all everything. Helped lead the Cougars under Coach Curl's guidance to 2 straight NCAA tournament appearances. She's now back as the VETA coordinator. And Brittany Mason is now the grad assistant on the staff. So kudos to Coach Buchanan to doing one of the things he said he'd do when he got hired was to establish that bridge, reconnect that bridge between the current program and the predecessors. So that's a positive. Let's talk about all this conference realignment stuff. And it's stuff because I want to go back to last week.
Yeah.
Our last podcast.
Yeah.
We were talking about everybody else. We were talking about A&M. We were talking about Texas. We were talking about Oklahoma. We were talking about Oklahoma State. We were talking about Missouri. We were talking about all these other schools.
Then
on Thursday and Friday,
you got hit
Saturday,
with what?
Syracuse and Pittsburgh say we have been accepted or have applied to the ACC and ACC accepted. Out of the blue. That was clearly out of the blue.
Caught everybody off guard.
And so much so, the Big East commissioner did not learn about it until he learned about it at a football game.
Right.
That's how he heard about the news. After the fact. So after the fact that ACC had already accepted Syracuse and Pittsburgh. Syracuse, of course, a founding member of the Big East. The one that's left to go to the ACC. And that, oddly enough, that's a basketball move, because that's not a football move at all. I mean, because neither one, Pittsburgh is decent, but they're not near as good as they used to be in the past.
And Syracuse hasn't been good since back now.
So that's a basketball move. So the ACC is now 14 members. And briefly, I want to give this little comment on this, so you can go at it. I kind of enjoyed the fact that it was kept close to the vest and kept quiet. Because all we've heard down here is every damn day, Texas and Orange Bloods this, and sources say this about the Aggies, and this Baylor's doing that, and this, that, and the other. And yet, props to Syracuse president, Pittsburgh president, the ACC people involved for keeping everything secretive until they had an announcement to make. And bam. That's I don't know, we as journalists, media types, not so much us, the paper guys and the really online journalists, they are paid to kind of break stories and beat everybody to the punch with breaking news and scoops. But sometimes a lot of this stuff that they report hasn't come true.
Right. And
sometimes it's better to be right than
and
first.
Have facts. Calhoun was correct in making that statement. Have your facts.
Correct.
Have your facts, because sometimes being first is not always good.
Correct.
You can get,
without a doubt,
get bit in the butt behind that.
So what? Okay, that happened. You want to touch on that?
Also, I mentioned about an involvement in conferences having spoken together and attempted to hold what I call regional rivalries and regional travel bases together, especially recruiting bases, and it'll rectify a lot of the travel, because it's between the Rockies and the western Mississippi, which involves 2 conferences, which folks have now found out they've spoken. It's Conference USA and the Mountain. What it will entail is not every school will be involved in the changeover. It'll mostly involve the schools out of Texas and the schools in the Mountain West on this side of the Rockies. Schools that won't be involved will most likely move back to the WAC, the original WAC, and that will keep them viable. Now, in the process, with all this other stuff going on, from what I was told, it'll be basically just, SMU, TCU, they will attempt to bring TCU back. And basically now, knowing Del Conte like I do, he's paying attention to everything that's going on around him. And I'm pretty sure his contract put him that he's his paperwork that he's turned into the Big East basically said that things are shaky. I might as well stay where I am, where I know everything's okay.
Well, yeah.
And it would all boil down to holding on to a BCS bowl situation guaranteed to that particular conference. And as my compadre across from me knows for a fact, the Mountain West was started because of basketball rivalries, because they weren't a football conference at that time.
True, correct.
And they became an automatic qualifier. And once again, still don't know how this happened, but ESPN got involved and agreed to help them and pass it along. But now that Fox has basically put their foot down on the West Coast, it puts everything in flux now.
Right. And we can talk about, because, see, this stuff, I guess we can have to mention and acknowledge, but we don't know if it's factual. Thursday is word coming out that TCU had replaced BYU as a front runner to go to the Big 12.
Right.
Which is different than Tuesday when the Mountain West was hoping to convince TCU not to go to the Big East.
Right.
So, all those things, it's all feel like you and I said in previous podcasts. You and I heard earlier in this week that there were even discussions behind closed doors about my school being involved in places that folks hadn't even publicized yet.
And we can't do.
So trust me when we say there are other things that have been discussed behind closed doors that the listeners have no idea, has not been made public. So
you ain't heard it here. You ain't heard it here.
If you haven't heard it, you may not hear it until it happens.
But I would go back on my rant about Dan Beebe.
And you got your wish, because the Big 12 and Dan Beebe reached an agreement, or they want to call it a mutual separation.
When you get $1 million, you want your money.
So he's no longer commissioner of the Big 12. Chuck Ninus, is it Ninus or Ninus?
Yeah.
He's now interim of the Big 12, which may be good, may be bad. I mean, it depends on how friendly he is with the Lost Dogs, but Chuck has his handprints on almost the majority of the hires in the Big 12, the ADs and stuff. He recommended for jobs at their current position.
And I find that interesting, basically, because my personal choice, because I was asked about this yesterday. Somebody called, sent me a text and all, and I mentioned Rob Carolla, who's in charge of football championships and all. And because I think he would be a good commissioner, interim, and then will learn his way, find his way around, because he doesn't have, from what I understand in my talkings with him, he doesn't have the foot on his neck or the gorilla on his back that is a Longhorn, and he rides it, he carries it on his shoulders and stuff and takes them around.
So he's not a Longhorn puppet?
No, sir.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's good.
Because basically you and I know.
Would he have to apply for that job?
Now, that's interesting.
Because, I mean, if Chuck is interim, so he's not going to be the new he's not going to be the new commissioner.
And nobody actually really wants that because of what's going on. They don't want to be dealing with, because it's more than just the conference itself. Right now, you're dealing with everything. You're concerned about contracts, TV, radio, teams moving in and out. Everybody's on, every man for himself, and you got to control all of that. And in the process, you get an article this morning with the Lost Dogs speaking basically on behalf of the Big 12. From what I read, it's just interesting how.
Oh yeah, let's get into that. This shows you Thursday night. It seemed like the Big 12 was stabilizing. Well, let's back up a little bit. Earlier in the week, the Pac-12 announced they were not going to take Oklahoma State, Texas Tech.
No, along with Texas and Texas Tech.
Because Pac-12 wanted Texas.
Right.
But they wanted Texas on Pac-12's terms, which meant sharing of the Longhorn Network. Longhorns didn't want to do that.
Finding out a way to make that work with Fox Sports, because on the other side of the Rockies, that is their territory.
Right, because the 12 current members of, I guess now the 12 members of the Pac-12 are the new TV deal that they have with Fox. It will be paired in 6 regional networks. So Fox Pac-12 has 7 total because the main will be a conference one basically, and then 6 regional networks. So if they would have added Oklahoma State, Texas, and Texas Tech, they'd had to be a part of the new Fox regional networks of the conference. Longhorns, they won't do that. So
isn't
Larry Scott. Go ahead.
Isn't it with the Conference USA? Didn't they just get a Fox?
Right. They now have a deal with Fox as well, and they left ESPN, and there wasn't student involved, but they settled, and now Conference USA is on Fox, and their games, their days for their football games is not as much fluctuation as it was when it was part of ESPN. So Larry Scott announced earlier in the week that they were contend with 12, and then soon thereafter, Oklahoma President David Bourne said that the Sooners are happy to be in the Big 12. We'll make it work, which is contrary to what he said earlier, like on Sunday, that he was hoping to go to the Pac-12.
But what did he say? What did he add to that?
But he did have stipulations, and one of those stipulations of staying in the Big 12 was replacing Dan Beebe, and that part has taken place. So
here we are today.
Now, Thursday night, David Bourne made an announcement that the Big 12 presidents had unanimously agreed to grant the conference office its TV rights for its Tier 1 and Tier 2 TV games for 6 years. And Bourne said this was a done deal. The Missouri Chancellor, Brady Deaton said that's not the case. It's still being discussed. We have not really agreed on it because certain schools in the conference, the Board of Regents have to make that a determination, not the president. So I think Oklahoma and Texas are 2 or maybe only 3 schools in the conference where the president makes that decision rather than the Board of Regents. So it's still up in the air. Now the importance of this is if the schools agree to grant their TV rights to the conference, the kicker is a school cannot leave, or they can leave, but their TV rights do not go to the new conference. They stay with the Big 12. So that's a lot of money we're talking about, potentially that you're letting go that you will not get for 6 years, up to 6 years. So that has more teeth in it than the exit fees of certain conferences and things like that. So we'll see how all this goes. The Big 12, I thought it had stabilized Thursday night. Friday morning, it's not as stable as maybe it could be later on. And then, of course, there's still a thing with Missouri because Missouri still has a outside chance going to the SEC. So if that happens, then we'll have to reevaluate all this again and see if the Big 12 will look to expand and add some teams to their conference.
Well, it's giving us topics. So every week. It's
giving us topics, but a lot of stuff we're talking about is the same thing, just added another layer to the conversation. Thursday, the U of H men's basketball finally released and announced their schedule for 2011-2012 season. And I say finally because you and I and the media had been requesting the schedule for weeks.
That's right. Yes.
So it is
literally for weeks.
It is now announced the Cougars have 19 home games, including their one exhibition home game. They have 8 new players, 5 freshmen. The schedule, it's not, the home schedule especially is not full of juggernauts. Big name programs. TCU and LSU come to Hofheinz. One team that comes to Hofheinz that folks down here may not realize or think of as a big-time program, but it's Oakland out of Michigan.
And folks,
it's coming here in November, on November 22nd. They're a very good basketball team. They're a program, and they like to get them down the floor. So,
and they don't joke around.
They're much better. You may not know them, but they are a very good team. The Cougars, once again continue their games against the SWAC opponents playing. Grambling comes in. in November, in the home opener, regular season opener on November 12th at 7 p.m. inside Harpines. They go to Oklahoma City to play in a classic on December 17th. The game's going to be on ESPNU versus the Oklahoma Sooners. So there are some games in it, and the two games against Rice will both be on TV. February 8th game against the Owls, the home game will be on Fox Sports, while the March 3rd game against the Owls at Rice will be on Comcast Sports Network. So I have linked to the schedule on my website, HoustonRoundballReview.com. You can see there's a link to it on the homepage right now. It's a bridge to what we all expect to be an even better year in 2012-2013. This season they'll be improved from last year. Next year they'll be even better than this year with Daniel House and Dan Red Chicken Nose coming in as among some other talented recruits that Dickey and coaches have brought in. So things look up for the program. The Rice Owls announced earlier they're going to have, I think, 7 of their games will be on TV as well.
I talked to Coach Ron on yesterday, and he gave me the schedule. They've got 9 non-conference games at home. They open up on Saturday, November 12th against New Orleans, this is their last year in Division I basketball, and they're moving down and out to the field house. Then another SWAC school rolls into the Houston area. Southern comes to Tudor on November 17th. Then November the 20th, Sunday, Tudor Fieldhouse, 3 o'clock. 2 former Cal coaches will be going against each other. Todd Bozeman at Maryland Eastern Shore and Coach Ben Braun. Todd was at Cal and went through some situations. A situation rather, and Coach Braun was his replacement, and now they're both at different schools, and they're back on the sidelines, getting some things done. They'll be reacquainting themselves and all with each other. Also, Rice goes to the South Padre tournament. It's interesting. They're playing Northern Iowa and Iowa State. Big 12. Northern Iowa was in the tournament last year. If I'm not mistaken, they got to the Sweet 16 last year.
I think that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then another local matchup. Rice goes to HBU to play. Coach Cottrell and Coach Braun have gotten together and looking to open up a series now between the two. And somewhere down the road, they've both talked about the City Classic.
Yes,
the one that you and I and one other person here in town.
Well, Coach Cottrell has won the City Classic, and he talked about it to us for years. And this was before the Huskies were. Well, this was back when the Huskies were NAIA,
right?
Not there in the Great West in Division I. I don't see any good reasons why a classic of some sort cannot happen.
Especially
involving, we're talking about the Huskies, Rice, the Cougars, Texas Southern. You toss in Prairie View some years. You're talking Sam Houston some years, Aggie some years. Some combination that needs to be done. You can rotate it on the school sites, or eventually if it becomes big enough, have it in the Rockets facility downtown. But that needs to happen, in my opinion, because it's a way to drum up interest in all the local programs and see some good basketball at the same time. So, we know the Owls playing
matter of fact,
Willis Wilson Tutor in December on 28th.
December the 28th at 7 o'clock. In between that, they've got St. Thomas on the December 3rd, Tutor, Louisiana. It just has Louisiana. I don't know.
It's Louisiana College. It's not LSU.
Okay.
Louisiana
All right.
College.
Thank you, sir. December 14th, Tutor Fieldhouse, and Lamar comes back to town. On December 17th. December 19th, Temple comes to Tudor Fieldhouse. That would be interesting.
That should probably be a loss. Based on recent success.
Right.
But the Owls have one of the best players that come to us singing, Osman Kazemi.
And
he's helping his team right now. So
qualify for the Olympics.
Right.
And they're, from what the conversation that Coach Brown and I had yesterday, which you can find at, AKSV, thecsr.blogspot.com. It'll be posted today I finished editing it this morning, and it will be on the blog this afternoon. And Rice finishes out the non-conference schedule on December 31st at Texas. They open up. Well, I'll take that back. They're on the road again. They go to TCU on January the 4th. They open up at home. Conference play with Marshall, who Coach Brian informed me on yesterday have, if I'm not mistaken, he said 4 of their starters back. Rice has 4 of their top scorers back, and they also have some help coming in. And hopefully this year, between Tamir and Arsalan, once they get some help from output from their teammates, it should be an interesting year for Rice.
Blah, blah, blah.
And
blah, blah, blah.
I will say this,
blah,
and
blah,
I will
blah.
stay with this. They should get to NIT.
Okay. See, that's what I want to hear about. You know,
they should. They should.
You know, they have pieces around, developing pieces around Arsalan. You mentioned Tamir Jackson, the point guard. The Owls this year, once again, should be better than the Cougars.
Right.
This year. They swept them last year,
right.
Swept U of H last year. Right. As a Cougar alum,
Rice also beat Memphis last year.
Should be the last year that Rice is better than U of H men's basketball.
Hopefully.
Should be. Doesn't mean that would be the case, but should be. Even, and the same can be said on the women's side. The Rice Owls women's team this year should be better than the Cougars.
And
this year. And after this year, that should not happen for the next 2-3 years. But Jessica Custer for the Owls is still the best player, women's player in the city, but I don't think she has as much help as the Cougars will have next season. So
let's talk about the women's basketball right now. Neither one of us have been able, because of scheduling, have not been able to get out and see an open gym to actually get a look at what hopefully we'll see on the floor this year. But one thing we've noticed, everybody seems to be healthy. Haven't seen anybody, you know, they look to be ready to go. Hopefully this season people start back talking about basketball, women's basketball on the college level here in this area.
Who? People like who?
Folks outside this area.
No. I'm being serious. People like who? Because if it doesn't start from the school and from the program, what does it matter?
We don't have that kind of marketing juggernaut here in this area to promote women's basketball enough to create interest, which explains the crowds and all that show up. Now, mind you, it could be a test to, not having the Comets here anymore, but folks,
that's part of it. But the local schools did do a great job connecting with the Comets when the Comets were here. So there wasn't a marketing synergy between the Comets and the local women's college team. So that's everybody's thought. I heard about that years ago. Talking about the Owls women's team, I want to congratulate former basketball player, point guard Katie Riverin. She earned a spot on the Canadian senior women's national team. We're getting old, Wildcat, because we now saw Katie play all 4 years.
Last time we saw her, she was on the junior team.
And that's right. And I interviewed her years ago when she was trying out for the junior team. So we're getting old, sir. But like we both said, the Owls have Jessica Custer is the best women's player in the city this year, period. And Jessica Custer is one of the best players in Conference USA this year, period. She was Freshman of the Year last year. She won the Conference USA Freshman of the Week award 11 times, something like that. She has a good chance to be preseason Conference USA first team. I doubt if she'll be Player of the Year because she's only going to be a sophomore.
And which I have a problem with that.
But that does not mean she's not the best player in the conference. But
I got a problem with that.
Because, Chandy was Conference Player of the Year, sophomore, junior, and senior year. So, Custer's not that same kind of player. Chandy was a legit scorer. Custer's more close to the basket. What she can do, she can dominate the game. Chandy can.
What she had done, well, let me say it like this. She hadn't showed floor skills yet. And I mean by that was putting the ball, stepping outside, putting the ball on the floor, and then doing things with it.
But the Owls go to Prairie View to open their season on November 11th. So, and the Owls play HBU. So, even the women, on the women's side locally is trying to develop those city rivalries, so that is a step closer to getting some sort of city classic here. But now let's talk about, I want to shift gears and get into my bailiwick, the NBA. Yesterday,
talk about that. What does that mean to the layman that buy tickets?
Thursday was the second of 2 straight days of meetings. Thursday was smaller meetings between Commissioner David Stern, Adam Silver, on the San Antonio Spurs owner Peter Holt, with Billy Hunter, executive director of the Player Association, Derek Fisher, the president of the Player Association. They met for about 5.5 hours. Did not come to any agreements. Did not come to anything substantive. And now everyone today is expecting the league to announce the way it was worded Thursday night was the postponement to the start of training camp and preseason games. That's inaccurate. The league is not going to postpone preseason games. Those games are canceled. Okay, you don't postpone exhibition games. So that's not even. Just tell it like it is. Those games are canceled. Now you can push back to start training camp. Because we know at some point whenever an agreement is reached, training camp will take place. If it's just for a week,
right? That's
going to happen. So that's right. Training camp was postponed. Exhibition games were canceled. Late last night, Rick Bucher of ESPN cited his sources saying that one of the things mentioned in all of the labor talks yesterday was that David Stern, the owners, want the players' percentage of the basketball-related income, which is currently 57%, to be well below 50%. You can take what you want for what is well below means, but because the initial number the owners were requesting from the players was about be around 40%.
Right.
They wanted to just slash everything and reduce numbers from 57 to 40%. The players had agreed to lower their demands from 57 to 54 to 53%. So they were starting to come back down, but nowhere close to 40%, obviously. That's why we're still having these discussions. Games may be postponed, preseason games are canceled, fine, whatever. Ironically, I'm not concerned. I don't know if I'm old, I'm not indifferent, I'm just not concerned because Rick Bucher later he tweeted that despite all the gloom and doom from Thursday's meetings, he still talked to a number of NBA insiders who believe the season will start on time.
I don't know who those people are, but they are drunk.
And then another person who I've grown to respect, Ken Burke, CBS Sports, believes the same thing will happen. Because his reasoning, based on his sources, is the fact that the owners made a proposal, a number presented to the players, basically establishes room for negotiation. So we know where the players are coming from about 54%, the owners are around 40, 45%. So within that range is a room for negotiating. So the players and owners will again meet next week, and then the drop dead date probably for a season starting one time or games or whatever was probably October 14th or so. So I'm not concerned. I don't believe it's all as bad as people think it is. If things are not started by the 14th, then games will be missed. And then by that time I'll be focused on college basketball, so I may not even care anyhow. But super agent David Falk was quoted in a tweet that this is his opinion, that if one game is missed, the entire season will be lost. That's an extreme perspective, and I don't see that happening at all. He's been talking gloom and doom for 2 years, and now to go from one game being missed, the whole season being that's asinine. Okay, that's my opinion, but that's asinine. If he didn't say one game missed will result in a shortened season, he said a whole season will be missed because one game missed. I don't think that's what happened at all.
So
there may be a shortened season of 50 games or so, but that's a big leap from going from one game to the entire season being missed just because November rolls around and there's no season. The season may start in December. You know, I mean, I start October 31st, whatever, but going from nothing on October 31st to nothing for the whole year is ridiculous. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Now, if we're coming around January and nothing's happening, then we can talk about no season. But I think that's nonsense. So anything else you want to add?
No, my only question now is, after getting that information out yesterday, you know, what does that tell us, you know, about grown folks playing childish games in a boardroom? Because that's the way I'm looking at it now.
It's no different than any other negotiations. They're waiting for a deadline to get things done.
Okay, now that may be true, but where is it written that I should guarantee you a profit on your investment?
Oh, I agree with your argument.
Because right now,
that is not the American capitalistic way.
Thank you.
But the NBA is not true capitalism.
Because they all collective. They got a board chairman who is what? Davis Stern.
Everything works for the owners, correct.
But when push comes to shove, each one of them want to dump it on somebody else's desk. David wants to dump it on the owner's desk, and owners want to dump it on his desk. And the players are just, they're basically like they are the union. You know, they are the employees. And none of those guys, it's like a tweet that I got yesterday. Nobody got rich on their own. It was on somebody else's back. Somebody else had to work to get that done. You didn't get rich, you know, by working by yourself. You had to go and get help.
All those things are true, you know, and you're speaking like I was thinking earlier this year, even back to 98, 99. All those things are true. And there was a Rashard Lewis from A-Leaf, Elsick, who was quoted in, I think, a Washington Post article about Michael Lee, writing for the Post. There's a quote that Rashard says, the players aren't the ones negotiating. Okay, my agent does negotiating. If my agent calls me and says, I got you a max deal, I'm not going to say, no, that's too much money, man. I'm sorry. I want to take less. I want to take $20, $30 million less. No. He's right. If an owner is offering you a max contract, you are going to take it. Any fans out there blasting and criticizing the players for making too much money, don't criticize them for making too much money. Criticize them for being lazy, not living up to their contract. If an owner, any owner, offers any fan out there $100 million, you're going to take it. You're not going to tell an owner, ooh, Mr. Smith, I'm not sure I'm worth all that money, sir. I think you need to cut back $50 million. Come on, people, let's be real.
Two people, one recently and the other years ago. Pete Rose said, this is back when he was still playing, when he got his first $1 million. He was in a forum, and the folks in the audience asked a question, and Pete just basically said, I would not be getting paid unless the owners could not afford to pay it. If they are offering me $1 million, why should I turn that down?
Exactly.
Because if I do, I can't go home. A couple of years, let's bring it up to recent. A couple of years ago, Houston Rockets was in a situation. Max contract was offered to one of your
pick a Rocket. Kelvin Cato? Kevin Maloney?
Yeah. Let's go with Kevin Cato because he was the biggest one at that time.
Based on a triple-double in a preseason game.
One game. Folks, I've seen it happen with a scholarship. That was the first time I saw that, is with a contract. You got a max contract with a hell of a bonus, and you basically, when folks asked you about it, you said he said out of his mouth, man, I didn't think I was worth that much.
But they offered it, and he took it.
They offered it, and I didn't turn it down.
Right.
I couldn't turn it down. A football coach recently moved from one school to the next because the school offered more money. The AD had the stones and all to stand up and tell the folks sitting in the room that was upset and everything. I could not go home to my wife and tell her I turned down $2 million and I'm making 850 and expect to stay in that house. I would be getting thrown out on the street, clothes, everything, and probably get burnt. It'll probably be a wait till exhale situation for all the world to see. So the coach, as mad as I am right now about him leaving, he did the right thing for his family.
Yeah, let's not blame the players for accepting what's offered. You can blame the players for not being in shape, for not following game plans and all those things. That's a different issue. But if an owner is going to give me $100 million based on my potential, because I haven't proven anything yet, I'm going to take it. So there is that issue. Based on, these latest reports, I don't believe that the NBA season is lost. I'm not saying that it's going to start on time. I do trust these information that I just heard and read recently, so we'll see how things go. But like I said, college basketball season is around the corner, so if the NBA does something asinine and has no games this year, I will adjust and move on to something else. We're going to wrap it up here. Thank you for listening to KT and the Fifth Wildcat podcast. Where can folks find you, Wildcat?
They can find me at www.kingsizeview.com. Hit that hot button with my mug on the front, the CSR, and it'll take you up to my blog. You can find any college sports from the local area and teams outside that are visiting. Because I am one of the few that get both sides of the story. You can find my friend across from me at where
folks about your Twitter too, man.
Oh yeah, my Twitter. Oh yes, hashtag AKSV the CSR. You can. Other than that, that's what I have. That's all I have today.
All right, and I'm
confused.
I'm KG of the Houston Roundball Review. Chris Gardner, co-owner and co-founder of the Houston Roundball Review. The website is HoustonRoundballReview.com. I have the Roundball Review fan page on Facebook. I'm also on Twitter at THEHR Review. I also have a YouTube channel, Houston Roundball. You can listen to the podcast. As a podcast are also available on iTunes. You can see videos on the YouTube channel as well. So once again, thank you as always for listening. Tell your friends about us. Hope you enjoy it. And in conclusion, as always, be true, be cool, and do more.